This episode of Infinite Scroll is brought to you by Coach Love, the new fragrance by Coach. Inspired by all the ways we express love, Coach Love is a fruity, floral scent that makes the perfect fragrance to get you in the mood to celebrate Mardi Gras. Coach Love opens with top notes of wild strawberry, features a rich heart note of red velvet rose, and dries down with a warm base note of cedarwood. Coach Love is a fragrance that celebrates love in all its forms, available now in retailers and online. On January 30th, 2024, Universal Music Group UMG published a scathing open letter on its website. The letter accused social media behemoth TikTok of threatening and intimidating UMG during contract negotiations for music licensing rights. The letter claimed that TikTok's success was built in large part due to the music produced by UMG artists and songwriters. Given that UMG controls approximately 1/3 of the world's music and represents some of the industry's most prolific artists like Taylor Swift, Ariana Grande, Bad Bunny, and Olivia Rodrigo, this claim is not entirely baseless. The company said it went to TikTok with 3 major issues to negotiate in its contract. 1, artist compensation. 2, the rise of AI-generated music available and encouraged on TikTok. And 3, the safety of users on the app. But the platform did not budge. Instead, UMG alleged that TikTok attempted to bully the music giant by offering a deal worth less than their previous agreement and by removing music from some of UMG's developing artists. Quote, TikTok's tactics are obvious, the letter reads. Use its platform power to hurt vulnerable artists and try to intimidate us into conceding to a bad deal that undervalues music and shortchanges artists and songwriters as well as their fans. But taking this dispute public didn't turn out to be the move that UMG thought it would be. People didn't like that UMG, a company worth over 50 billion USD, positioned itself as the underdog. This letter felt like an attempt to gain public sympathy to manipulate TikTok right back, putting everyday users in the middle of a contract disagreement between 2 multi-billion-dollar corporations that both have a history of putting profit over artists' best interests. And no matter how strong UMG's points were, they were always going to be fighting a losing battle. TikTok had built the most powerful music discovery platform of our time, and they were not backing down. In response to UMG's 842-word open letter, TikTok responded with 4 sentences. Quote, it is sad and disappointing that Universal Music Group has put their own greed above the interests of their artists and songwriters. Despite Universal's false narrative and rhetoric, the fact is they have chosen to walk away from the powerful support of a platform with well over 1 billion users that serves as a free promotional and discovery vehicle for their talent. TikTok has been able to reach artist-first agreements with every other label and publisher. Clearly, Universal's self-serving actions are not in the best interest of artists, songwriters, and fans. On January 31st, 2024, Universal Music Group removed its catalog from the app. From Centennial World, I'm Lauren Meisner, and this is Infinite Scroll, a podcast about internet culture, the creator economy, and how social media is shaping Gen Z. Welcome back to Infinite Scroll. All right, so I do want to start giving a few more personal updates in the middle of these deep dives. I know you guys are missing that. I know that was a huge reason that a lot of you listened to the podcast before was, kind of for our banter and our updates and things like that. And I definitely want to start bringing a bit of that back. I will say that the solution that I have to viral news on Tuesdays, it's not going to be exactly the same, of course, but when I do bring that back, that will be much less formal. It'll be chattier, more conversational, so you will get that. But in the meantime, until that's ready, I did want to address some of the messages that I've received. Obviously, I kind of touched on last week that you guys have been so supportive and amazing, and I just feel so lucky to have an audience that is sticking with me through this transition and kind of these growing pains here. But I have received a lot of messages just like asking how I am and checking in, which is so sweet. So I actually think, jump scare, I might post a YouTube video on my old channel talking about kind of my life and the last 6 weeks and what it's been like and the direction of things for me. I don't know. It's still something that's in the works. If you guys want that, let me know for sure. Like just slide into my DMs, message me, let me know. I do miss that conversational aspect with you guys. These deep dives, it was important for me to script them, and I don't regret that at all. It's been significantly more work. I did not expect that, but I knew I had to script things if I was going to do deep dives alone. As I've said many times, I don't consider myself a natural podcaster. I'm a much better writer than I am a speaker, a talker, I guess, on my feet. So I knew without having somebody to bounce ideas off of and conversation off of for these deep dives, it was important that I had it all scripted. But of course, that changes the dynamic, that changes our relationship a little bit. And I don't want to lose kind of that parasocial relationship with you guys. But yes, in terms of how I'm feeling, it's been really rough. I know I haven't really shared anything about what it's been like for me these past 6 weeks, but I can honestly say it has been probably the hardest 6 weeks of my life. And I know that sounds really dramatic, and I'm aware that that is pretty dramatic. Nothing is actually wrong, thankfully. But mental health wise, it's been a huge struggle for me. I haven't really been sleeping. I've had really, really bad insomnia. I've had horrific stress and anxiety. I went through a period where I wasn't really able to eat, which just does not happen to me. I'm just such an eater. And you guys know I'm so obsessed with the gym, and that's completely fallen off. I didn't expect this transition to impact me so much. So I know that you guys can also tell. I know that in the episodes, the energy that I'm bringing, and I know just even on social media, not that I think a lot of you guys follow me for my Instagram and stuff, but I'm not really posting and stuff. And some of you have messaged me, checking in and mentioning that. And that's basically why I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of living in a fog, like a daydream. Every day I'm just trying to get through. And I know this will pass, and I'm starting to hire for some roles within the business, which I think will really help me. But I am, I guess, just burnt out. I guess that this is probably what proper burnout feels like completely unable to sleep, having to nap during the day, unable to get work done at the times when I need to get it done, which has never been an issue for me. Honestly, thank God for the people around me. I feel so supported. My husband, my parents are always messaging me oh my God, we believe in you. Keep going. We're so excited to see what you do. They're so sweet. All of my friends are always checking in. And thank God for Crystal and Annabelle. Both of them have made it so that the business can keep going. Annabelle, of course, at a practical level, she is truly keeping the business going. She is the one that's behind the scenes, writing the content, coming up with plans. She's coming to me. I know she listens to this. She's going to die when she hears me talking like this. But, she's the one that's coming to me when she can tell I'm struggling. And she's like, okay, here's the plan. We're not going to be able to get all of this done this week. So why don't we do X, Y, Z to make it so that we're, working smarter instead of harder and things like that. She's really taken some ownership and some control over the content side of the business in this transition period, which has been just so life-saving. And Crystal, of course, she doesn't work directly with me, but it kind of feels like she does. And she is just constantly giving me advice. I'm bouncing every single idea off of her. She's been so amazing and helpful in this process. So I have a lot of support, which is great. And yes, I will, of course, get through this, but that is why I know you guys can tell the energy has been a bit different. And yeah, I just genuinely have been really struggling. But anyways, on that note, as always, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe. It helps me so much. It helps this podcast grow. It helps the Mentee, all of that. And please sign up to our newsletter, also called Infinite Scroll. On Wednesdays, we send out a commentary article about a trend, creator, drama, or news. And on Fridays, we round up the 5 biggest think pieces on the internet from that week. And of course, also please join our Geneva group, which is also called Infinite Scroll, where you can chat with other people who are also obsessed with internet culture and creator drama and tea, and you can chat with me. So I just wanted to read one quick review that I got from this week from Alicia, who wrote, "You're back! Yay! Missed the pod. You've got this, Lauren." Thank you. To understand how TikTok found itself in a power struggle with the biggest music conglomerate in the world, we first need to look at how the platform became so influential in music discovery in the first place. And for that, let's rewind a decade. In 2014, Alex Zhu and Louis Yang were product managers working at an insurance technology company in Shanghai. The two had the idea to build an educational platform where users could learn about different concepts and topics in a short-form video format. Biz Carson writes for Business Insider, quote, "The idea was that experts, whether for coffee or calculus, could create short 3 to 5 minute videos explaining a subject." The two raised $250,000 USD to build and launch the app. 6 months later, Zhu and Yang realized they were in trouble. The app wasn't getting enough traffic, and the content was, to put it frankly, boring. Quote, "Lesson planners had a hard time condensing their expertise into 3 minutes. Content creation and consumption needed to be within minutes and seconds, not hours. It wasn't entertaining, and it didn't attract teens." Zhu and Yang had to pivot for the platform to succeed. In an interview with Forbes, Zhu explains what prompted the shift toward music. While on a train with just $20,000 of runway left, he noticed that, quote, 50% of teens were listening to music and the other 50% were taking photos and videos with their speaker on top to add music. This prompted Zhu and Yang to find a way to combine music, social media, and video. And so, Musical.ly was born. They pivoted from education to entertainment that same year, and then something somewhat serendipitous happened. The American reality show Lip Sync Battle started airing, so the term lip sync was trending on the App Store. The founders decided to capitalize on this. Quote, "After the show, people used lip sync as a keyword to search on the App Store," Zhu told Forbes. "We decided we should highlight lip sync as a primary use case for the app to make it even more compelling for our teens, and made some major design changes." By July 2016, Musical.ly hit number 1 on the App Store, achieving mainstream success in the United States and beyond. Peaking around 2016, Musical.ly became known for lip-syncing and dancing videos created in a very specific, fast-paced, jerky style. Some of the most popular creators, or as they were called, musers, on the app included Baby Ariel, Jacob Sartorius, and Lauren Gray. What made Musical.ly so successful was the gap it filled in social media. Before this, platforms didn't really have access to mainstream or copyrighted music. For reference, Instagram only added music to stories in June 2018. Just over a year after hitting number 1 in the App Store, the Wall Street Journal reported in November 2017 that Musical.ly was to be acquired by the Chinese tech conglomerate ByteDance for as much as $1 billion. At the time, Musical.ly had around 100 million users. At the beginning of August 2018, Musical.ly officially merged with TikTok under ByteDance. ByteDance launched an app called Douyin in 2016, which was essentially a clone of Musical.ly for Chinese users. The company later launched TikTok, which was available for users outside of China. Upon the acquisition of Musical.ly, all Musical.ly users were migrated over to their new TikTok accounts. Now, there are conflicting reports over whether TikTok was its own app before the merger. Some publications have positioned TikTok as the result of ByteDance's acquisition, but according to a statement from the TikTok newsroom on August 1st, 2018, it seems that TikTok was a standalone app and was separate from Douyin before the acquisition. Quote, "Today it was announced that 2 of the world's fastest growing short-form video apps, Musical.ly and TikTok, will unite to create a new global app. The newly upgraded platform, which keeps the TikTok name, creates a unified user experience, debuts a new logo and user interface, and offers greater capabilities for video creation. By bringing together the best of TikTok and Musical.ly, TikTok now becomes the world's number 1 go-to destination for short-form video content creation and consumption." A statement from August 1st, 2018 on TikTok's newsroom reads. According to TechCrunch, TikTok had around 500 million monthly active users at the time of the merger. Now, to understand TikTok's position in the market, it's important to look at why ByteDance acquired Musical.ly. According to the New York Times, this acquisition was part of a greater strategy to expand beyond the Chinese market and go global. As Paul Moser writes, quote, By integrating Musical.ly's global reach with ByteDance's massive user base in China and key Asian markets, we are creating a significant global platform for our content creators and brands to engage with new markets. With that in mind, TikTok wasn't necessarily created to become a music sharing platform. It was something more of an accident. Musical.ly never intended to be a music-first app, but rather an educational one. And the Musical.ly-TikTok merger was seemingly a strategic way for ByteDance to expand its user base and convert users across different platforms. ByteDance's decision to rebrand Musical.ly to TikTok also suggests that music wasn't necessarily the focus of the platform, but rather short-form content, hence the clock branding. Reporting by Demi Lee for The Verge at the time of this merger further proves this theory, writing, quote, "TikTok will be missing an essential part of the Musical.ly history, which was built on teens lip-syncing and dancing to music. All the features to make karaoke videos are still there, but rebranding the app with a new name and forcing the old Musical.ly users to migrate to a new platform is a move that may alienate the original community." With this, we can see there was an assumption at the time that TikTok would not fill the gap of lip-syncing and dancing content that Musical.ly was leaving behind. While TikTok may have not intended to become a music discovery platform, it quickly became one of the most popular ways to discover new music for Gen Z. There are a few reasons for this. Number one, the popularity of TikTok dances coincided with the app's rise to success. When TikTok hit the mainstream in 2020, the most popular videos on the app were dance videos, and the most popular creators were TikTok dancers, like Charli D'Amelio and Addison Rae.
So for me, I actually had like the one video to go viral that kind of started it all. It was a duet of this woman, Move With Joy, who makes easy dances, and it's her voice speaking, and you just copy whatever she says. So I duetted the video that she did, and it was just like step, step, hip, hip, like stuff like that. Very simple. It was like 8 moves. It got up to before I walked into dance class, it was about 50,000. I was like, that's it, I'm famous. Don't talk to me.
Of course, Renegade is one of the most iconic examples of this. The Renegade dance, set to K-Camp's song Lottery, skyrocketed Charli D'Amelio to TikTok fame, though she didn't actually choreograph the dance. Then 14-year-old Jelaya Harmon created it. At the time of recording, the song Lottery by K-Camp has almost 14 million TikTok videos posted under the audio. These dances became popular on TikTok because they were largely accessible to the average person. The majority of dances were dominated by hand movements, making it easier for non-dancers to join in on the trend. Margaret Furr writes for the New York Times, quote, "Dance has defined TikTok since it arrived on the international scene in 2017. The platform's forced vertical orientation and 1-minute time limit helped give rise to a building block collection of basic, tight, upright steps that the average person could learn and replicate. Since then, a number of dance subcultures have formed, and some cater to more advanced dancers. Quote, even when you have a professional dancer doing high-level choreography, they're doing it in their bedroom, maybe in their pajamas. It's this special kind of access, and it feels particularly intimate when you know that 20 minutes from now, they could be on stage doing very similar stuff." As dances have become heavily associated with TikTok, it's opened the door for music to take center stage on the platform. The second reason that TikTok turned into a music discovery app is the nature of the For You page. Now, we have discussed the nature of the For You page on this podcast so many times, so I don't want to regurgitate the same messaging too much. But with users more inclined to scroll the For You page rather than their following tab, it's easier to come across new creators or musicians for the first time. And the third reason that TikTok has turned into a music discovery app is the culture on the platform has become less about putting out original content and more about putting your own spin on someone else's content. The app was designed with features like Duet and Stitch, which enable users to easily engage with a creator's content by creating their own content about that content. This encourages piggybacking on ideas or trends and makes it much easier to share on the platform, as creators don't necessarily need to be unique. The culture on TikTok is more about collective creating. When it comes to how this impacts music, Ryan Broderick shared this thought. Quote, TikTok's biggest impact is not just on music, but the unprecedented open flow of audio file sharing. We've honestly never had a platform be this big and allow this much remixable audio. Also, most TikTok users still use audio files as a sort of hyperlink between different content on the app. It's an important discovery tool. Aside from these theories outlined, there is concrete evidence to support that TikTok now plays a major role in music discovery. According to TikTok's Music Impact Report from 2023, the short-form video app, quote, fuels music discovery. The Music Impact Report was commissioned by TikTok and created by research firm Luminate. Collected data from TikTok users from the US, UK, Indonesia, Germany, and Brazil between Q3 2022 and Q3 2023. Some of the key findings for TikTok users include: in the US, TikTok users are 2 times more likely to discover new music than other social media users or short-form video consumers. And 2, in the US, 62% of TikTok users pay for a music streaming service, compared to 43% of consumers overall. Given TikTok's influence in music discovery, the platform has, of course, also become a launchpad for many of today's popular artists, elevating local talent to worldwide fame. Doja Cat is arguably the most prominent example of this. Having posted on SoundCloud since the early 2010s, Doja Cat had an online following before blowing up on TikTok. But it was TikTok virality and the success of her single Say So that skyrocketed her into the mainstream. Say So found so much success largely thanks to creator Haley Sharp, who created a viral TikTok dance to the song in December 2019. Haley was a 17-year-old competitive dancer who had a large following of over 1 million at the time when she choreographed the dance. Haley's existing platform helped catapult the dance and thus the song to TikTok virality, with many of the major TikTok dancers at the time like Charli D'Amelio and Addison Rae recreating her choreography. But Say So's mainstream success wasn't all down to TikTok. As the song blew up online, Doja Cat lent in, before artists leaning into TikTok was even a thing. She actually cast Haley in the music video for Say So, and together, Doja and Haley did the viral Say So TikTok dance in the music video. Fans were obsessed with this collaboration. As a result, the song became Doja's first platinum and multi-platinum single, and by the end of the year, Say So was the 10th most streamed song in the US, with 562 million on-demand streams, proving to artists and executives everywhere the power of TikTok marketing for the music industry. By 2021, the impact of TikTok on the music industry was undeniable. TikTok's user base had reached over 1 billion monthly active users, and the app had already churned out several artists who broke into the mainstream, like Mainskin, Pink Pantheress, and Coi Leray. But it was the 2021 Grammys that really solidified the platform's influence over popular music. As Jordan Christensen writes for Centennial World, quote, "Of the nominations, winners, and those asked to perform, each had a significant moment of virality on the app in the last 12 months. Dua Lipa, who beat out the likes of Taylor Swift, Justin Bieber, Lady Gaga, and Harry Styles for Best Pop Vocal Album with Future Nostalgia, saw almost 4 million views made with the 15-second clip of her song Don't Start Now, a number which well exceeds the 1.3 million streams it has on Spotify. Similarly, Harry Styles, a seemingly obvious choice for the opening and longest performance slot of the show, may not have seemed so obvious 12 months ago. Beloved by Gen Z, Harry Styles found his feet for his second studio album, Fine Line, but not without the help of the hordes of fans present on the video sharing platform. It is interesting to consider that in almost every popular music category, the winner was crowned by TikTok first. By then, it was clear that TikTok now dominated how people discovered music and new artists, and this shift was now heavily impacting the corporate music scene. As a result, artists started getting pressured by their labels to become quasi-content creators as well to promote their music on TikTok. This self-promotion is something that many artists have spoken out against. Artist and producer Mike Barnett told journalist Ali Dever, quote, "Record labels used to be far more involved in the development and promotion of artists. Social media has allowed them to pass the buck and put much of the burden of promotion onto the artists themselves. Most labels, major or indie, don't even think about signing an artist who doesn't already have big numbers on their social and streaming platforms." And it's not just up-and-coming artists who feel the TikTok pressure. Mainstream names like Halsey and Charli XCX have posted videos expressing frustration at being asked to make videos by their labels while trying to balance touring, writing, and recording music. Artists are also reportedly pressured now to write shorter, snappier songs to suit TikTok virality. The TikTokification of music is a hot-button topic. It seems that music industry insiders and fans alike consider this shift as a net negative for music. But I would argue that TikTok is getting a bad rap here. Because before TikTok, popular music was designed for the radio. And then it was designed for music video programs like MTV. And then it was designed for streaming services. The evolution of how music is discovered and consumed by youth culture has been ever-changing over the past 2 decades, and those creating music have had to adapt to that. When popular music of the 2010s was sweeping the Grammys, for example, we didn't say, oh, the Grammys are just commercial radio music now. But today, one of the biggest criticisms of the Grammys is that it's all just TikTok music now. In a similar vein, it's also worth considering if TikTok actually determines what is popular music, or if popular music is also just popular on TikTok. Would Haley Sharp have choreographed a TikTok dance to Doja Cat's Say So if it wasn't already a popular song? Now, whether or not TikTok is actually more influential to music creation than other mediums of generations past is debatable. But what is for sure is that the corporation likes to play into this belief. In September of last year, TikTok launched Elevate, a program, quote, designed to identify and nurture the next generation of musical talent who already seem destined to make waves worldwide. Elevate claims to provide artists with both in-app and external benefits, like visibility and awareness, fan engagement, music promotion, and brand building. In an interview with Forbes, Rachel Dunham, who was the North America Artist Partnerships Lead at TikTok, called Elevate a major step in making sure that TikTok is, quote, the most artist-friendly platform possible. Despite this claim, however, TikTok has actually made it increasingly difficult for lesser-known artists to find viral fame. For example, according to Business Insider, TikTok's music operations team has a series of promo levers that it uses to boost the popularity of songs. And its editorial team even, quote, overrode its own algorithm to boost views for Taylor Swift and Beyoncé when they first joined the platform. As TikTok has continued to see unprecedented growth over the years, it's not a stretch to say that the app now defines popular culture in every single way. And it seems that this power has made TikTok increasingly greedy, particularly when it comes to the music being played on its platform. Okay, so what's really going on between TikTok and UMG? So when it comes to music, there are both licensing rights and production rights. Licensing rights are the copyright of the song recording, which is often owned by the record label. Licensing rights are what Taylor Swift, for example, is fighting for when she talks about re-recording her masters. Publishing rights are the copyright to the DNA of the song, like the lyrics and the actual music scores itself. Publishers are responsible for representing the authors of a song, so these rights are not always owned by the record label, but they sometimes are. Where it gets even more confusing is that some artists have their publishing rights with a record label, like UMG, that they're not actually signed to. So in the disagreement between TikTok and UMG at the moment is only removing their licensed recordings. But UMG is threatening that if things keep going south with TikTok, they will remove the songs they hold publishing rights to as well, which would also impact artists that aren't even signed with UMG. With the news of the TikTok-UMG split, creators and users spiraled. What would TikTok be without some of the world's most popular music? But 2 weeks later, it doesn't really feel like much has changed for the user experience. Although music remains a significant aspect of TikTok culture, there has been a shift. TikTok dances are still around, but they no longer dominate the For You page as they once did in 2020. And today, most of the viral TikTok content is centered around comedy, political discourse, and social commentary, genres of content where popular songs are not necessarily a prerequisite. And for those who do want access to their favorite artists' music on the platform, there are already a plethora of fan edits and remixes available to use. So this begs the question, will this dispute actually hold up? Well, on the In Case You Missed It podcast, hosts Candace Lim and Serena Toros mentioned a similar dispute from 2008 between Warner Music Group and YouTube as a case study. Warner Music Group removed all of the official videos of its recording artists from YouTube over a disagreement about its licensing deal. The record label only held out for 9 months before striking a new deal with YouTube to get its music back on the platform. This disagreement had commercial implications for both companies, with Warner Music Group losing exposure, marketing, and licensing revenue, while YouTube lost a significant portion of music-related ad revenue. Given how much UMG and TikTok are both losing during this time, it's likely they'll come to some sort of agreement in the near future. But who's really losing out now are the artists. Not the Taylor Swifts or the Olivia Rodrigos, but the developing artists, many of whom were discovered by UMG on the very platform where they can no longer promote their music. And if we've learned anything from other social media platforms, it's that exponential growth almost always leads to increased corporate greed and a worse user experience overall. Though TikTok has been the golden child of the online world for the past few years, its power struggle with UMG over music licensing rights suggests it may be headed down the same path as so many platforms before it. Infinite Scroll is a podcast written, produced, edited, and presented by me, Lauren Meisner, for Centennial World. Additional research and reporting is by Annabelle Ben-David. Thank you guys so much for listening. I love you all so much, and I will talk to you next week.